Red Bull is one of the biggest brands in the world. But the weird thing is, Red Bull almost never actually advertises its drink. Instead, they spend their money doing things like throwing people out of space, buying Formula One teams, and sponsoring people who jump off cliffs for fun. Which, when you think about it, is a very strange way to sell a drink. So how did this happen? The story starts in the 1980s. An Austrian businessman named Dietrich Mateschitz was travelling through Thailand when he discovered a drink called Kratading? Nah, I'm going to be honest, I have absolutely no idea if I've just pronounced that correctly. Krating? You know what, we're just going to move on. Anyway, this drink was designed to help factory workers stay awake during long shifts. Basically caffeine, sugar, and the hope that you survive the workday. When Mateschitz tried it, something clicked. Because in Europe, energy drinks basically didn't exist. So if he could bring this drink to the Western markets, he might be sitting on a massive opportunity. The drink had been invented by a Thai entrepreneur named Chaleo Uvidya, which again, I've probably just completely butchered. But Mateschitz saw the potential immediately. So the two partnered up and created a new version of the drink designed for Western markets. In 1987, Red Bull officially launched in Austria. But there was a small problem. When people first tried Red Bull, they thought, why does this taste like the fizzy medicine? And also, why is this tiny can so expensive? So traditional advertising probably wasn't going to save them. Which is when Red Bull made a decision that would change everything. Instead of spending loads of money on normal advertising, Red Bull decided to attach itself to the most insane sports possible. I'm talking BMX, snowboarding, cliff diving, and people jumping off mountains in wingsuits? Safe to say is not something most drink companies were doing. Imagine Coca-Cola sponsoring a guy jumping off a cliff. It would be chaos. But Red Bull understood something very important. If their brand became associated with adrenaline and extreme performance, people would naturally link that feeling to the drink. Suddenly, Red Bull wasn't just a drink. It was energy. It was risk. It was doing crazy things. But Red Bull didn't stop there. They also realized something incredibly simple. Students are tired. All the time. As a student myself, I can very much confirm this. So instead of buying expensive TV adverts, Red Bull started targeting universities. They hired students to drive around campuses in little red branded cars handing out free cans. Imagine walking to a lecture half asleep and suddenly someone appears and hands you caffeine. It was basically the academic version of a drug dealer. Hey, want something that will keep you awake for the next 4 hours? And it worked incredibly well. Students started associating Red Bull with late nights, studying and partying, which, conveniently, are 3 situations where people desperately need energy. Then, Red Bull decided to go even bigger. They bought a Formula One team. Now, if you don't follow Formula One, this is a bit like starting a football club, except the players' injuries cost millions and the ball goes 300 kilometers per hour. Most companies would never take that risk. But Red Bull wasn't trying to act like a normal drink company. They wanted their brand to represent the absolute peak of performance. And eventually, their Formula One team became one of the most successful teams in the sport. Which meant, every time a Red Bull car won a race, millions of people saw the Red Bull logo, again and again and again. But even Formula One wasn't enough. In 2012, Red Bull decided to attempt one of the most insane marketing stunts ever attempted. They sponsored a skydiver named Felix Baumgartner to jump from nearly 39 kilometers above Earth. That's almost 4 times higher than a normal skydiving jump. To make it happen, Red Bull built a capsule that would be lifted by a giant balloon all the way to the edge of space. Imagine pitching the idea in a meeting. Okay guys, what if we just throw a man out of space? And somehow, everyone agreed. On the day of the jump, millions of people around the world tuned in to watch the live stream. Felix stood on the edge of the capsule. Above him, nothing but black sky. Below him, the entire Earth. Then he jumped, breaking the sound barrier while falling through the atmosphere. At the time, it became the most watched live stream in YouTube history. And technically, it was just one giant advertisement for Red Bull. But it didn't feel like an advert, it felt like watching history. And that's the genius of their marketing. People don't like watching adverts, but they love watching something unbelievable happen. Today, Red Bull sells over 11 billion cans a year. The brand operates in more than 170 countries, and its marketing strategy is studied in business schools like mine, all around the world. They didn't build their brand by telling people their drink tasted good. They built it by creating a brand that represents energy, adrenaline, and pushing limits. Which is a pretty impressive strategy for a company that technically just sells caffeine in a small silver can.